Welcome to another edition of the Unfiltered podcast. I am your host, Ernest E.J. Christian. I'm actually in line here waiting for my son to get out of school, so I have about 20 minutes of time here free to dive in for a couple minutes to talk about something on my mind here today. I like to try to do this on a daily basis, although I did one yesterday, but I'm going to try to stick to if I can, a Monday through Friday schedule going forward as things have opened up a little bit here for myself. Today, I do want to talk about some of the narratives right now as we get out of week 12 into week 13 about two quarterbacks, I guess we'd call aging quarterbacks that are definitely first ballot Hall of Famers, still all-time greats, and I still say are, despite their team's disappointments right now this season, are still really good quarterbacks, are still good. And that's on Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. In the case of Aaron Rodgers first, look, all this talk about whether or not should he be benched now, should they give Jordan Love the keys because, the Packers are out of it, not mathematically out of the playoff spot, but, if we really tea leaves, man, 6 games to go, 4-8, they would need, teams, ahead of them to really fall apart to make a case to cracking the playoff 7 in the NFC. Let's talk about should the Packers get rid of Rodgers and cut him, or should they, trade him next year? I don't know. Whatever the options are there on the table. The bottom line is this: we treat this so like one narrative is set one year, next year is the opposite. Have you forgotten that Aaron Rodgers has won two back-to-back MVPs coming into this year? Like, he's literally the defending MVP right now in the NFL, back-to-back for the record. All right? Look, has he underwhelmed this year? Yeah, a little bit. Are there reasons for that? Yes, absolutely. No receivers. Obviously, not having Devontae Adams certainly does not help. That's not going to help, obviously, not having him on your roster and having to worry about, and we can criticize also about him not being as attentive and, focused on, being, working on the chemistry, if you will, of the young receivers on his team and whatnot. All those things apply. But to sit here and act like Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden sucks now, let's stop. Like, I'm sorry, if he's the quarterback for the Packers next year, I'm doing quarterback rankings going into 2023, he's still my top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Probably the bottom 10, though, based on this year's performance, but he's still top the quarterback in the league because we know when he has weapons, you know when he's healthy, he's still deadly. So there's a lot of reasons around Aaron Rodgers as to why this Packers team is underwhelmed this year, is why they're 4-8. Okay? Is Rodgers part of the problem? Absolutely. But is he the main reason? Hell no. Please stop. Okay? These are bad narratives. Tom Brady, same thing to some extent. Okay? Now, Tom Brady is someone who actually especially because of his age and because he's a statue really back there, he needs a offensive line that's healthy, which that has not been the case this year. The Buccaneers have been underwhelming. Obviously, they're 5-6 right now currently. Now, look, here's the thing. They're, in my opinion, they're still going to win the division because the NFC South is putrid. I mean, you have the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons all, with 5 wins or less. Okay, and while those teams are still mathematically in the race, at the end of the day, who you're trusting on these 4 teams? Trusting the Buccaneers, obviously. So, this idea that Tom Brady should retire now because this and that. My wife and I were having this conversation the other night, and I disagree with her. She says, well, why did Tom Brady come back? Like, why did he come back this year? And obviously, we can talk about the situation with Giselle and his now ex-wife Giselle, and all that situation over his head. That all applies here. But it's not like Tom Brady's having a horrible year. I mean, it's not certainly one of his best years of his career. I mean, especially grading on a 23-year sample. Certainly one of his worst years. But if you look at the career he's had, I mean, that's saying a lot. He's not having a bad year, Is he still good enough to be a top 16 guy next year if he comes back to play football? I think so. I think he's still good enough. I think, again, like Aaron Rodgers, similar reasons why Tom Brady has not been able to, and the Buccaneers as a whole, has not been able to be consistent and win games and have some separation to themselves in the rest of the division. But again, to sit here at Tom Brady should retire based on this whatnot, what are you talking about? Tom Brady just last year had arguably his best season of his career. Arguably. Okay? At 44 years old. Like, what are we doing? Okay? The O-line has been good this year. Has been healthy. He just lost his best all lineman now, Wirfs. Probably for what we're hearing, at least the rest of the regular season. So at the same time, we need to kind of be very, mindful of that too as well. And obviously receivers not being healthy. Let's be real, not having Gronk this year's hurt a little bit too as well. Rob Gronkowski. I gotta move up here. Give me a second. But let's not pretend that all of a sudden these guys, Rodgers and Brady, just suck. They're not even bottom 16 quarterbacks in the league. They're still, in my opinion, top 16 quarterbacks in the league. They're in a situation now where their teams are now deteriorating around them. Okay? We can have a conversation about them not being as good as they've been in years past. That's a conversation to have. But to sit here and call Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers they should just be out of the league now. Dude, I will take them over 2/3 of the quarterbacks in the league right now at their age. You know what I'm saying? I'll take them over Kenny Pickett. I'll take them over give some quarterbacks there. Jameis Winston. I'll take him over. Who's the quarterback in? Okay, Justin Fields maybe a little bit different situation because he's a lot younger. But that's why I'll take him over, Russell Wilson right now. And he's a lot younger than both those guys. So let's stop the noise about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers not being good enough. Let's stop peddling that narrative, okay? All right? Yes, they're not playing well. Yes, they've been underwhelmed this year, okay, in comparison. But they are still top 16 quarterbacks in the league, right? Even with the struggles, even at 4-8 Black Packers and 5-6 Buccaneers, they are still top 16 quarterbacks in the league. Okay, and I'll take them. Again, I will take them over 2/3 of the quarterbacks right now for 1 year. So we need to stop peddling that narrative. So anyway, that is today's Unfiltered Pod. We'll come back tomorrow. By the way, also a quick shout out and a quick plug. Check me out tonight at 8 o'clock on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, on the Huddle Up podcast, where I appear on every single Tuesday with my boys, Big Jim, James Neese, Kyle Nash, Matthew Muleisen. We talk football every week for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's a fun time. I've been telling you guys all year long. It has been the most fun I've had all year. All the podcasts I do, all the projects I've done, all the content I've been creating for the last 5 months. That show has been, and look, I love doing my podcast, love doing this podcast, and everything else I do on the side. But that has been, to me, by far the most satisfying, most fun every week. So check it out. You also get to see my power rankings on there, my power rankings for the week on that show as well. So until then, other than that, we'll see you hopefully tomorrow for our next Unfiltered episode.